This is a chassis made of mild steel and we have a powder coating, which is pretty strong one. Can't bend an inch of it. And this is the bigger version of it. You can also fix in Johnson motors or Vega side shop motors on this one. Good one though. You also have another option. You can use this chassis for Video motors, as in this one, which are available on beginners.Video. Very easy to fit, and you can use it with a combination of these tires. Unlike the others, this one has a satin matte finish. Good one though, but metal is very thin. It is available to use this one with Video motors. The next thing you will be needing is motors. Now these are DC geared motors from beginners.Video, 300 RPM. This is a base motor and this is the helical gearbox. Now we have given a nut to you. You can just simply put this in the chassis and fasten it from the other side. 4 of them for 4 tires. These are the smaller one with 70mm diameter. These go well with the smaller chassis, if you're using the smaller chassis. And these are the bigger ones with 110mm diameter. These go great with the larger one. So you have to choose your tires depending on the chassis. You will be needing a set of 10 wires. Now primarily you will be using the 6 of them, but if you have any extra modifications on the watt, the remaining 4 will be useful. And try to keep this wire at least 3 meters. DPDD switches for controlling your watt and a case for them. You can get this case from beginners.Video, and these switches simply go inside them like this. Also put in the other one, and there is the inlet for the wire. You can remove it with the help of the screws. Your power source, that shall be your battery. Now this is a 12 volts and 1.2 ampere hour battery. So this shall be perfect for our motors which run at 300 RPM at 12 volts. Connector strip, 10 slots, a couple of cable ties. Okay, now let's go ahead and assemble the motors in the chassis, and later on we will go into the connections. Simply put in there. Tighten it real hard so the motor may not be rotating. So here we go. I have attached all the motors. Now the next thing you have to do is bring up all these wires through these holes. Okay, here we go. I have brought all the wires up. Now the next thing you shall be doing is taking your battery and try to keep it exactly in the center so that the weight of the battery and the chassis is perfectly divided in the 4 motors. Take a couple of cable ties and try to tie this battery to the chassis with the help of it. Here we go. I have attached the battery to the main chassis and sort of brought the wires from front to the back over here. I have also connected the connector strip with the help of some nuts and bolts. So make sure this part doesn't move, because we will be connecting the wires from a remote over here, and the other end of the connector strip will be connecting the wires from the motors and the battery. So we have done with the assembly part of our robot. The only thing we need to assemble in this robot are the tires, which will be assembling later. So let's move to the connection part. Okay, I have taken a battery and connected it to the central 2 terminals of a DPDD switch. I have also taken a motor and connected it to the extreme terminals of a DPDD switch. Now if I press this end of the DPDD switch, you may see the motor is in motion, and now if I leave it, it stops. So what actually happens when I press this is the current flows from the positive terminal of the battery to this, and when I press this switch, these 2 points get activated, so the current is allowed to flow to the motor, the resistance of the motor, back to the negative wire, and from the negative terminal of this point of the switch to this, back to the battery. In this way, the circuit is completed, and you can join n number of motors depending on the current consumption of the motor to this. So now what if I want to rotate this motor in the opposite direction? Now as you can notice, this motor is rotating in the clockwise direction. What if I wanted to rotate this in the anti-clockwise direction? So because we need to take our bot in the forward and also in the backward direction. So what you have to do is take an extra wire, solder it to the positive wire of the motor, and join this wire from this terminal to this terminal. So something like this. Also take another wire and join this terminal and this terminal. So basically what you are doing is you are reversing the polarities of the motor. So when you will press this, the motor will be rotating in the opposite direction. Let me actually show you. So here we go. I have soldered those two wires I was talking about. So it comes from this red wire of the motor to the opposite terminal, the exact opposite terminal, and same goes to the black wire of the motor. So basically what I have done is I have just reversed the polarities of the motor. So earlier when I pressed this thing, the motor was in a clockwise direction. So now when I press this thing, it goes in the counterclockwise direction. So with the help of this DPDT switch, I can reverse the side of the rotating shaft of the motor. So with the help of this, we can apply this to a bot. So this will help our bot in taking in the backward and the forward direction. We'll be doing the same for the remaining one switch. We'll be giving the same supply, that is I'll take some extra wire and solder this terminal to that one and this to that one. So we'll be providing the same supply to both the switches, but we'll be giving different motor inputs to these switches and we'll be reversing them as stated over here. And if you are viewing this video from my website, you will find its description below it. The next thing we'll be doing is taking the red wire from this motor and twisting both of them together. Same goes with the black wire, and repeat the same procedure for the other two motors from the other side. Also solder two wires from the battery terminals and insert all of these wires serially on this side of the connector strip. Here you go, it might look something like this. Now take your 10-pin wire and pull out the central 6 wires and try to insert them through these slots. Also try to tighten them along with their insulation. So if you try to pull them, they shall be hard enough. It may look something like this. Now after we are done with this, the other end of this wire shall be going to a remote. So let's begin the connections of the remote. This shall be a switch box. Go ahead and insert the switches in them. Now we shall be providing the same power source to both the switches, and as I told you earlier, we have soldered the battery, that is the power source, in the center 2 points. So if we want the same power source to appear here, we shall connect these 4 terminals or either 2 to parallelly. So let's go ahead and do that. It may look something like this. Now come to a board, and these are the wires from the battery. Now they have been connected to the blue and the green one. The blue is a positive and green is a negative. So come to the other end, keeping in mind that blue is a positive and green is a negative. Now solder this blue one to any one of these red terminals and the green one to any one of these black terminals. And it may look something like this. Now come to your board. Notice that your left channel is connected to wires grey and purple. Now come to this end. This shall be your left channel because the wire is coming in from top. Now what you have to do is take these 2 terminals and connect the grey and purple wire over here, and then reverse the polarities by connecting this terminal to this terminal and this to this. Let's do it. Here we go. I have connected grey to the positive and purple to the negative and changed the polarities of them by connecting this to the opposite one and this to the exact opposite with the help of jumpers. Now repeat the same procedure for the other one. Okay, as you can see, I have completed the rest of the connections. Now let's check if they are working well. Now if I press this one, the left channel is moving forward. Now if I press this one, the right channel shall move forward. Backward, left channel backward, right channel backward, turning, all going well. So I'll just go ahead and close this thing and connect the tires. So let's get it out for test. Okay, let's check this out. Forward, backward, axial left, axial right, radial left and radial right. So every turn is working perfect. Speed is great. So please try to modify this board. You have 4 wires left, so you can add 2 motors which can go in both the directions. And in the next video I'll be teaching you how to turn these things into wireless with the help of radio frequency. So stay tuned.